free because you're going to be taking notes, so put your coats down, put your purses down, get yourself ready to get comfy for a little while, and then I want everybody to run in place. Move your feet. And if I see you moving, I'm going to get a prize. So move your feet, wake up, make sure everybody's got their blood going. All right, you won that one. How about back here? Everybody running good? There you go. All right, take a seat. Woohoo! You guys excited?
Yeah.
And now you're awake, right? My job is to make sure you stay awake. So, we're going to get started with, this Immunity Makeover Challenge. I'm going to make sure I have all my stuff where I need it and I know how to move forward. So, welcome. So, tonight we're going to be sharing some information with you guys. Some of you been to a makeover before in my office, has been a patient. Can you put your hand up if you have been to a makeover before? All right, so you guys in the front can't see. There's like 2 of you, which I love this because you've been to a makeover before. What I love about it is that there's a bunch of new people to get some new information, right? I'm very excited for you guys. So we're going to go fast. We have about 5 hours worth of information we have to squish down into an hour and 45 minutes, right? So we're going to work fast. We're going to talk fast. We're going to take a lot of notes. And we have to take notes. Everybody say, I'm going to take notes. Take notes. Take notes. Right? So take notes. And why are you going to do that? Because you're going to want to look at your notes so you remember what you learned. But even more importantly, who knows there's somebody that they wish was sitting next to them right now to learn what you're going to learn, right? So guess what? Your job is going to be to take good enough notes that you can go home and tell them what they missed, right? Because who needs to know this information right now?
Everybody.
Oh my gosh, yes, everybody. I tell you, I pray a bunch before I do any of my classes, and one of my prayers is that God will just give me the words to speak and you guys the ears to hear, because this is the most important time and probably the most important class I've ever taught. Mm-hmm. It's the most important class I've ever taught because right now we're in a crisis and we're approaching the worst flu season we've probably ever had in our lifetime. Can I get an amen to that?
Amen.
Right? And I'm not telling you that because I want to make you frightened, because my goal tonight is to make you not frightened. Right? What I want to do is empower you with truth. And when we understand the truth, you will feel free to know that not only you're going to be okay, your family's going to be okay, and we know how that's going to happen, right? And ultimately, that's our goal tonight. So whether you wear a mask or you don't wear a mask, or you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated, would you all agree that even vaccinated or unvaccinated, mask or no mask, everybody's still like, I don't know what's going to happen, right? Are we still feeling like that? No matter what the heck we're going, some people got vaccinated still wearing a mask, right? And we're just all over the place. So I want to bring us back to center, right? And what we know is that fear is not from God. Amen. Right? And so we want to just give you simple truth and empower you with, what to do moving forward. Cool? So, that button's supposed to work. Didn't work. Okay. Help me.
Call IT.
Right? Get rid of that. Oh wait, I think I got it. Look at me go. Fixed my own IT problem. Okay,
Oh, look at that.
so how do you like that little picture? Brought to you tonight by Doctors Fry, right?
That's us.
At one of our Max Living seminars, actually. And we went to this seminar to actually learn how to teach you what we learned there, and just jaw on the ground, unbelievable. Excited to share with you what we learned. Our mission in our office is to empower you with truth so that you live longer, healthier lives, not only through chiropractic, but through the 5 essentials. And if you don't know what the 5 essentials are, you're going to know that by the time you leave here tonight. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we want to make sure that you know about your notepad and your note sheet. Everybody got this sheet? This is a sheet you're writing notes on. So find it. Make sure you have a pen. Everybody have a pen?
Yes.
Anybody need a pen? Okay, good. So on the back of this note sheet, this is where you're going to write your little notes and your aha moments and things you want to remember to tell somebody else. On the back of this is a list of your 5 essentials. And what we want you to work on hearing tonight is where each one of these categories are you going to make some changes. So if you hear in here that, you know, we're talking about nutrition and maybe one of the things you need to do is to stop drinking pop, right? You're going to write that down on that line and try to come up with at least one thing, right? So we don't want to get overwhelmed, right? Because I'm going to give you a fire hose of information tonight. And the people that have been to my classes before know they've been to probably 10 or 20 classes and they learn something new every single time, right? And so what's important to understand about that is you don't have to do everything we're telling you all at once, right? It's a transformation that takes time. So what we want you to do tonight is listen for anything in one of the 5 essentials. We have the 5 essentials listed for you. And what are you going to do different in core chiropractic? Some of you are guests here tonight. You don't even know what core chiropractic is yet. Your first thing to write down on that line is to get my spine checked, right? Because you don't even know what that means yet, right? So we're going to start there. But those of you who are already in the practice or maybe new to the practice, maybe you have to write down you got to do your exercises more often. Or maybe you remember to do your exercises, but you don't put your head weight on, or right? And so work on each one of these categories, trying to find a spot, put that up, that you're going to make some changes in. Because what we know is really important is trying to understand, like, first thing we have to do before we go through the 5 essentials is understand where are we right now. Anybody feel lost? A little bit lost? Right? And what you're lost about is the ocean of information that comes from all different directions, right? And don't you feel a little bit like you get overwhelmed one direction and then back and forth and conflicts and all that kind of stuff? I thought it would be interesting before we go into this process just to write down. I spent a little bit of time writing out, like, what the heck has been happening? Like, what happened? Like, let's go back. Can I take you guys back to March 2020? You remember that? Right? And the early March 2020, spring break was happening, and the word social and distance didn't happen in the same sentence. Everybody remember that? Right? And so things changed, right? And things have happened. So what's the first thing we find out? We start hearing in the news that, you know, COVID is happening in other countries, but not here yet, right? They start warning us, here it comes. Supposedly hadn't been here yet, right? What we find out later on. It was already here, right? How about then the first case in Michigan hits, and then they start telling people, we're just going to stay home for a couple weeks. Anybody get that joke? Did that happen? No. Just stay home for a couple weeks. And why did they tell us to stay home for a couple weeks? Because we're going to lower the what? The curve. Remember the curve? Like the onset of all this stuff? Because what? They were worried the hospitals were going to be overwhelmed, right? So they were worried the hospitals were going to be overwhelmed. So what'd they do? Made a bunch of hospitals in different places. Everybody remember Coble Hall? Right? So what happened there and other places? Ghost town. Right? Because did they ever use those things? No. They set all this stuff up, never got used. I can even repeat that kind of stuff because my husband works for General Motors, and when this was all happening, they stopped the project he was working on and made him start working on ventilators. And he was actually making ventilators, and we were thinking at the time, like, okay, good thing he's going to start the production, and they're getting all this funding from the government to GM was going to run the project and blah, blah. And what they end up doing, finding out later, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, that wasn't a good idea, was it? I found out that was a bad thing to do, says my little Miss Nurse in the audience. Nurse from the hospital, we won't talk about. Now, then what happens is we go back to work. Now just essential workers are working, right? And we're essential workers, and I have less people coming in my office, so we have a couple of our staff that aren't coming in, so it's just the 2 of us in the building. We do all this crazy distance and pens and all the stuff, right, that we had to do to make changes. And I'll tell you, before we knew what this thing was and the hype that was happening, you couldn't help but be bothered, scared, worried, right? I don't think scared necessarily was the word I had, but you just didn't know. Right? You didn't know what was going to happen. And leaving my house every day, knowing that my son and my husband were quarantined, staying home, and I left, I found myself, I would be very frank with you, I found myself sitting in my car in tears. Just not knowing. what was going to come of all that stuff. This is heavy stuff we've been through. I want to proclaim out loud that it wasn't easy for me either, right? I mean, all of us went through some heavy burden stuff. So, and then the next thing that we find out is, oh, thank God there's hydroxychloroquine. Helps a bunch of people. What'd they do with that? They actually banned it in the hospitals. They made it illegal for hospitals to use it, even though they knew it would help people, right? And so then they come up instead with remdesivir, which is antiviral, and they had 4 different antivirals to choose from. They choose remdesivir. Now that's the protocol, and what they find out that does internal organ damage, right? So then that was not a good idea. And then we talked about the ventilators, and what was wrong with the ventilators was the problem, which you guys are going to learn, wasn't that they were lacking oxygen. It was the lack of the ability to take in the oxygen. So giving it more is like trying to shove a bunch of food in somebody who's starving all at once. Can they digest all that food at once? No. So that's why that didn't work. So then, and then they started doing testing, right? So, we got this test finally, and we figured out there's actually the gentleman, I lost his name for a second, but I'm going to find it. Kerry Mullins was the virologist. I guess he was a virologist that studied and understood where the tests were going to do, and then how to use the test. And he said this specific test that they ended up using was one they should never use with viruses. And then they did it anyway. And the reason why they said you shouldn't use it with viruses because you can sway the result of it. So what we end up seeing, a lot of people with no symptoms testing what? Yeah. And then what they say, oh, you have false positive. And then if you tested negative, they said, well, you might still be positive, so go home and quarantine even though you're negative and come back in a week, right? So lots and lots of crazy stuff. Crazy, right? It makes us then start to question, what do we trust? And what do we understand? And knowingly, there's a lot of stuff that the officials, whoever is making these decisions, they had to learn a bunch of stuff too, but how'd they present it to us every single time? We know this is what works, right? It didn't get presented like, well, we're trying to figure out what works and we're going to see how this goes. No, it was kind of shoved down our throat like they knew what was going to happen. Then what happened was, we find out vaccines take how many years usually to create?
2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years.
Lots of years, like minimally 5 years, and then that's without 20-year studies of what happens later on down the line, right? And how long did they come out with this one? 6 months or something, 6 or 8 months, right? So all of a sudden we got this vaccine, and then, I got so many notes about, who do we trust about the vaccine and what is it, and right, when the thing I think that's the scariest to understand about it, and most people don't know this, is that it's actually not a vaccine. It's actually, it does something to change your DNA in such a way that they're trying to get your body to not overreact to the virus and the infection, which might be an idea, except for they called it a vaccine, and it has no virus in it. Normally a vaccine has the antigen in it and at least a little bit of piece of the thing that you're going to have an immune system response to, so you can build up immunity. This one doesn't have that. So, but they still called it a vaccine. Why'd they do that? Anybody know why they did that? To get people to take it because it sounds like what they've seen before. That's a good probably point of skew of that. Anybody know another reason? Right, I'm gonna blow you guys away because I think Miss Karen knows, but she's biting her tongue at the moment. But so hang on to your seat. A vaccine in 1988 changed from they weren't allowed to sue the drug companies anymore for adverse reactions. They took away the ability for people. Why they do that? Because the drug companies were losing money, right? And so when we see that kind of stuff, we realize, like, wait a minute, like, why are we calling this thing a vaccine? They're calling it a vaccine to protect under the laws that if something happens wrong to you in doing this experimental shot, we can not have anybody repercussing on us and blaming us and blah, 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 right? So when you look at some of the truth behind that and realize that what we're really doing right now, and I want to share one more thing with you before I go on from here, is this is right off the VAERS website that Dr. Shelby copied for us and pasted and got on our slide for us yesterday, day before yesterday. So you can go and Google this stuff yourself. So anybody know what VAERS is? I'm going to tell you if you don't.
Yes.
Vaccine Adverse Event Reaction Reporting System, right? So if you have a adverse event, you're supposed to call up and report to this thing. Now, who ever heard of VAERS in this room before, besides my nurse? A couple of you, right? So how do you know how to go report if you had an adverse reaction? Nobody tells you to call this place, right? So what they say on their own website is that they know this started in 1990. So 31 years worth of this website collecting data from people reporting in, and what they know is that only 1% of the adverse reactions that actually happen from vaccines are actually reported on this website. So now hang on to that fact for a second, because over here we see the total number of deaths that have been reported from a vaccination since 1990. So for 31 years there has been 25,799 deaths reported on the VAERS, which only reports 1% of the deaths. Now here's the part that's going to blow you away. 16,766 are deaths reported just from the COVID vaccine. What does that mean? In the last year and a half, 64% of all the deaths that were reported from vaccines for the last 30 years happened in the last year.
Wow.
Are they telling anybody that in the news?
No.
But you can find it if you look for it. What I'm glad you're here for is that now you know to look for it. Right? You know what we're looking for. Yes, sir?
I was just gonna say that I just heard last week on, I think it was Fox News, it was only 7,000. So you got this number 16,000.
And I didn't get this number. It's on VAERS website.
Oh,
So
okay.
go look at VAERS website.
Okay.
And that might be in the U.S. I don't
think
know
that
if this
the
is
US.
only just the U.S. or not. Is VAERS only U.S.?
I believe it is.
I think it is too, because it's a
it is-
.gov
Yeah,
website.
Exactly. Because
So-
you see a higher number over.
But you know what it might have been? It might have been 7,000 that had the vaccine, but they had underlying problems.
Right. Well, here's the thing that he's even making a point about, you guys. There's so many ways to skew data. And what they can do is take the data. And so this is where I run into my next slide is, who do you trust?
Yeah, right.
Right? Because we talk about trusting the science, but then what's the science doing? Are they reporting what they want us to see or what we really should see? Right? And where do you know to trust that kind of stuff? Thank you. When we look at the CDC, right, they're supposed to be Center for Disease Control. They're supposed to be telling us stuff. Anybody notice what they've been doing for the last year and a half? What have they been doing? They're kind of all over the place, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Masks work, nope, they don't work. Oh, this works, nope, that doesn't work. Now do this, don't do that, right? All over the place. Why? This article goes on to talk about they're bought, paid and supported by drug companies who they want to then pay them to say, do this, right? So is that taking the citizens of this country into consideration and concern? No, not even a little bit. What's that done for us so far? Well, listening to the CDC, under the CDC's direction, here's what we have going on in our country right now. First of all, we're in the United States, we're the highest infant death mortality rate. What's that mean? It means this is the worst country to have a newborn in. They more die here than any other country. Right? Why is that not third world country? It's happening here, in this country. Right? Almost half of the children have at least one chronic diagnosis. What? Pediatric cancer is the leading cause of death today in this country for kids. Cancer is the leading cause of death. Not closed head injury. Used to be closed head injuries. Right? What'd they start doing? Putting helmets on kids riding a bike? Now it's 1 out of 7 children are on an antipsychotic. I keep forgetting I have my thing over here. Except for I almost can't see it. 1 out of 7 children on an antipsychotic, 1 out of 6 have a learning disability, 1 out of 12 suffer with asthma, 1 out of 5 diagnosed with an emotional, mental, or behavioral disorder. How sad is that? 1 out of 5 obesity, 1 out of 13 allergies, 1 out of 38 autism. How are we doing? Terrible. Terrible. As a matter of fact, and COVID has been also having collateral damage, right? Because what we do, we put kids home, we made them stay home from school, right? And then they're not having their social activities anymore, and a lot of kids, a lot of adults, depressed, right? We're having psychotic episodes. 50.6 increase in suicide attempts in adolescents since COVID started. How about 56% of the kids, and I say young adults, not kids, between 18 and 24 years of age are reporting they have anxiety or depression, right? That's not been ever in history before, that number. That's ridiculous. 1 out of 10 adults reporting anxiousness and depression, and 71% of all parents believe that their child's mental health has been affected by the lockdowns, the social distancing, the don't go out with your friends, the right. I didn't have this kind of stuff happening in my house as much because we weren't quite as, can't go out with your friends, but picture what that would be like if, a parent was just scared to let their kid go out the door, and how that would be for a 15, 16, 18-year-old, right? It's their livelihood. And the collateral damage is just continuing on and on and on. Who has a loved one in a nursing home? Anybody? Only me? Okay, so I want to start with, during COVID, who couldn't go see a loved one because of hospital restrictions, or, right, keep your hand up, and then of those people, how many don't have those people anymore in their life? They passed away, right? Only one of you put their hand down. Mine, thank God, but not because of what they did with COVID, but because of what we did for my mom. Survived, but they tried to kill her. They tried really hard. Not necessarily meaningfully. Thank you. Not necessarily meaningfully, but I still have my mom today. And you do lots of outside, visits, but my mom has severe Alzheimer's, and she's in a memory care facility, and she's being well cared for, and I embrace and love the people that, Essential worked for her through all of that stuff. And what was difficult was the period of time we couldn't see my mom. We couldn't even do outside visits for a period of time. And then somewhere in the midst of let's do the testing, and then they run all the testing, and what did my mom end up with? A positive test, right? She didn't even have a symptom, but she had a positive test. And because she has a positive test, then they decide, because they're a memory care facility, not a nursing home, what do they do with her? Send her off to the hospital. Because they can't care for her, with her Alzheimer's and then symptoms, and she's up and moving all the time, and so they had to quarantine her, and she wanted to get out of bed. So what they do is send her to the hospital. She gets to the hospital tells me and a couple other people I love and know that she shouldn't even be there. She's not sick, she doesn't have a symptom, she doesn't have a stuffy nose, she doesn't have any of this stuff. She had a low-grade fever with an 85-year-old woman with a 99-degree fever. That's not life-threatening, right? And wanted to send her back home. But now the nursing home wouldn't take her back because now she's COVID positive, and they don't receive COVID positive people back into the nursing home. So they left her in the hospital overnight, and because she was a risk for falling, strapped her to a bed for 6 days. And my mother disappeared and my mom walks all over the place, and by the time we got to her, and then they moved her 6 days later to a nursing home facility where I remember standing outside, crying, but I won't. Standing outside, looking up 3-bedroom window floors, trying to just look at the window that I wish my mom could even come and look out the window at me, but because she has Alzheimer's, we can't even communicate that, to do that. Right? The thing that was comforting to me was my mom has a baby doll. His name is Rusty, and she just talks to Rusty. Rusty is her best friend. And if you ever seen an older person with a little baby, they just come to life. And I sent the baby in her suitcase to the nursing home facility, and said, I talked to the nurse on the phone and said, give my mom her Rusty. And sure enough, they told me that next day, like before all this, my mom was just not talking to everyone. Can you imagine? Everybody's in a hazmat suit, right? And she can't see or recognize faces. And people are coming in trying to care for her, and she is like an alien from another planet is coming and trying to take my clothes off me. Like, can you imagine? And she lost it so much that by the time we got her home, she was not walking. She was in a wheelchair. She had lost 25 pounds, and she only weighed 120 pounds when she got there. Right, so now she's under 100 pounds. She could barely get herself out of a wheelchair. And luckily, because we work really hard and got her the PT she needs, and what does Dr. Mary do? Drop off all her vitamins, give her the D3, and here's your vitamin C, and pumped her full of all that kind of stuff. Not only did she recover, she actually ended up eventually, even though she was not symptomatic, she ended up on oxygen for about 2 weeks. But then she started getting her strength back, got off the oxygen, and she's walking this picture I did just last week. We walked a quarter of a mile all the way around the outside of the building, right? So when you think about the damage that's happening, and I praise God that I didn't have to lose my mother in that process, but people do, and people did, right? And then losing, can you imagine your direct spouse just being so far away that you can't even talk to them, right? This has never happened in history before. Those negative emotions and the stress that we've all been under, and maybe trying to even not recognize or say out loud that we've been through, has been affecting our emotions, affect our health, and they affect our immune system. It's actually been reported that there's actually a study of biophysiology, which means how you think affects how your body functions, right? And you can literally think yourself into fear, stress, all those things add to your heart rate not working, your body, right? Even just telling that story I'm telling you right now, have a little heart attack, right? And your body physiology changes with your emotions, right? And so we're in the worst immune stressful time that we've ever had with all this other emotional stress. We have to do something different, right? We can't just keep taking what is happening, and then we're raising a generation of children, a generation of what's going to take over this country as we grow on and they come in, of living in fear, because they're being taught right now that you can't. One of our friends was telling a story about their child is now afraid to go out of the house without her mask on. When she goes outside of the house and she takes her mask off, she says it just feels weird to be outside the house without a mask on. Right? So picture, we were telling little 2 and 3 year olds that they have to wear a mask. I'm always glad when I see little 2 or 3 year olds ripping the thing off and running like a wild person, right? Because what we know is that we do have a choice in what we're doing and how we're approaching this whole thing. And the choices are really understanding, instead of living in fear, empowering yourself with the truth about how your body is designed. Because what you're not seeing in the news, right, and choosing not to actually live in fear takes an action step, right? Because you can't keep watching the news and then say, I'm gonna not live in fear, because that just keeps on instilling fear into your brain. Right? And they just keep on passing that stuff on. But you can choose a path understanding that God built your body to be self-healing and self-regulating. How many times y'all heard me say that?
Amen.
Right? Your body knows how to heal itself. And it was not designed with a flaw to not know how to handle this. Now, grant you, there is some conversation about this thing, being super produced in a lab. You guys know the coronavirus, when the evolution of virology looks at that, they go, there's no way this happened in nature, right? Because the way that it is right now and how it got produced, it didn't happen in this period of time. It would have taken 30, 40 years for it to happen in that period of time. So we know something foreign adjusted that. We don't even talk about whatever that is, but something manipulated that to be what it is right now. But praise God, even if our bodies didn't know what, everybody understands what herd immunity is. When it starts going through your body and then you produce an antidote or an antigen to it, it weakens it, right? And every time it goes through another person, it weakens it, and then we build up. And natural immunity is something that lasts forever, right? Instead of for a short period of time. So when we talk about this a little bit to understand it a little bit better, is that it's not about the virus, it's not about the germ. As everybody understands, the germ theory has actually been proven to be wrong. It has flaws in it, right? The Louis Pasteur, who said all diseases come from a germ or from a germ itself, who's based on the germ theory itself, is saying that all sickness and disease is caused by a germ. Well, that's not true, because I could sneeze on each and every one of you. Would you all get the same symptom?
No.
How? What? That doesn't go with the germ theory, right? Germ theory says somebody sneezes on you, you're just going to get sick. Well, how come one person doesn't get sick, another person gets sick and only stays sick for 2 days, another one gets sick and stays sick for 3 weeks? What's the difference? Not the germ. It's the host, right? The person's body. It's what we refer to, I can't work that thing. What it is the terrain. It's your environment. It's what's inside the host, how your body works. If you wanted to pick which bowl you wanted your fish to live in, which one would you pick? Right? You don't even have to wonder. You can imagine if we could look inside our own bodies that way and go like, ooh, so if I eat this donut, I'm going to have that brown water, or if I eat an apple, I'm going to have clear water, right? It is literally as simple as that. I'd make it sound really simple. It's literally that simple. You can go to the next one. So we have to focus on the host, not the germ. We have to focus on how your body is going to show up in reaction to that. What does that mean? Doesn't mean everybody's not going to get sick, does it? As a matter of fact, in an old time, I'm looking for my water. In an old time, that's okay. We used to have chickenpox parties. Anybody in this room know about that? Okay, so a couple of us are old enough to know that stuff, right?
My mother told me about it.
Why? Because God designed your body to build an immune system. How do you build an immune system? You get sick. Every time you get sick, you get well. Are you supposed to get 14 infections all at one time? No. How are they delivering immunity right now to kids? About 14 in one day, right? Before they even leave the hospital as a newborn. Craziness, right? So there's a natural immune system response, and the natural immune system response does not start in the bloodstream overwhelmed with a bunch of stuff with a bunch of chemicals in it. Natural immune system response starts in your hands and in your mouth and in your nose, right? Your nasal passageways already have protective things happening. You have on your hands natural healthy bacteria that knows how to start weakening a germ and a virus the minute you come in contact with it. And when it ends up in your mouth, your saliva starts weakening it, right? These defense mechanisms are designed so that by the time it gets to your bloodstream, your body already knows what's coming, your immune system already knows what's coming and what it has to do to combat it. Right? And it goes to work from the instant that you're in contact with it. And so much so that it remembers it for the next time, which is the definition of natural immunity. So the next time you're in contact with that thing, then you don't get sick. Why? Because your body already knows how to respond and knows what to do. So God designed even for children, fever-related, you can switch slides, fever-related illnesses that are childhood illnesses that are designed to make a healthy immune system, right? And we build it just like we build muscle. When we build muscle, we don't just all of a sudden get muscle. We have to tear that bad boy down, right? We have to weaken it and actually rip it. Like when you're ripping your muscle, it gets fatigued and tired, and what does your body do? Make more muscle in that place, right? Immune system's the same way. You have to get sick in order to strengthen your immune system. What if we don't ever get sick? How's our immune system if we do that? Not in very good shape, right? And so what does that lead to is what ends up happening beyond that, which you can switch slides again, because what are we doing with kids right now with vaccinations? In 1983, children got 5 vaccine doses with 15 antigens by the time they were 6 months old, and 10 vaccine doses with 30 antigens at 5 years old. What do they get now? 130 antigens by the time they're 5 years of age. Right? And that number is even higher if you took a flu shot every year until you're 18 years of age. Right? And that number is getting higher and higher. What are they doing? So kids don't get sick. Wow, look at, we're getting these vaccines and nobody gets sick. What does that do? Anybody? Does it last very long? First of all, no. Right? And you're getting the wrong stuff at the wrong time when your body's not even ready for it. Right? We're putting stuff in kids that are for, like hepatitis, right, is something that happens to adults that are sharing drug needles and maybe having unprotected sex. Tell me when your brand newborn baby is doing any of that. Right? It's not the right time. It's not the right way. It's not the right mechanism. But it's happening, and then by the time they're 10 years old, what do they need? What are they telling everybody they need right now? A booster shot, right? By the time they're 10 years old, they need a booster shot. So I'm going, okay, between 0 and 10 years of age, my kid's going to get exposed to unprotected sex or using an IV drug needle? I don't think so, right? So when you look at the why behind it and what actually ends up happening, you can go ahead. What we end up seeing, how the pharmaceutical industries have no repercussions, which I talked about this already a little bit ago. So 30 years ago, the pharmaceutical industries from vaccinations were profiting $750 million annually. Today, they've reached $38 billion in 2018. And what they're planning in 2025 is surpassing $70 billion. And they don't have to give anybody anything back when your loved one dies from it, you're permanently injured or damaged, right? So we're being censored and we're not getting to hear the truth. As a matter of fact, not getting to hear the truth is so real. I don't know how much of this stuff I have to tell you guys. Do you guys know? Like, here's the stuff they don't want you to know, so they don't put it on the news. And then they change what's on the news. Anybody, the general that just died? How many days ago was that? He said 3 or 4 vaccines. He was fully vaccinated, whatever it was. Fully vaccinated, and then he died. And then what I got on my screen on, my Yahoo mail, when I open my mail, you get news on the first page before your mail opens up. And the first thing I see on that first page is that it wasn't because of the vaccine. It was because he had something other blood disease or something that had nothing to do with the vaccine. That's what they're reporting on Yahoo. Right? Right? So, and then Dr. Shelby and I tested this out because one of the slides that we took off because we wanted to try to save time and move a little faster than I probably am right now. But the censored information is so real that if you Google right now, GMOs are, and you leave the next section blank, or vaccines are, and you leave the next section blank on Google, on a Google search, GMOs, so genetic modified organisms, which are genetic modified food organisms, GMOs, and then you say are, right, and you would think it would say dangerous, toxin, not good for you. What it says instead is safe, effective, causes lots of people to be able to get food, blah, blah. They only tell you what they want you to search, right? And vaccines, same way. Vaccines say they're safe, they're effective, they're right? We're being censored. They're not, and I don't have to tell you guys that, right? It's all over Facebook. People get kicked off of Facebook. I have tons of colleagues that have a lot more daringness than I do, that have just been kicked off, censored off. They put something out there and then Facebook blocks them for a day. You get to go to Facebook jail for a day, and then if you suffer for a day at Facebook jail, you get to go back on, and if you do it again, you go off for 2 weeks or something. It's like craziness. That stuff's happening. It's real. So what we know and understand is what's happening is really to know that what the truth is, and what do we, come back to the home basis of what do we truly believe, and what should we believe, or what do we know, right? And what we've trusted for centuries. And so,
It's broken. I can't fix it.
Wow.
Turn off, turn back on.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, the power button is
Did it freeze?
looks like it froze.
Probably froze. You turn it off. You have to hold
Yeah,
it.
just turn it off. Turn it back on.
Hold the button.
Control Alt Delete.
I did hold down Control Delete for a
Yeah.
while.
And it's
yeah,
not
it's
So the
frozen.
whole computer froze on you, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, it's off.
See, there,
Blows.
someone booted you up.
See, you were talking about it.
Yeah, they heard us talking. Huh?
Yeah. I guess we need tech support.
Do you have, if you have an Alexa here, she heard you.
She is Siri.
Right.
Are you talking to Siri?
Yeah, you were talking.
My battery died on my watch, but that
Siri,
doesn't have anything to do with
Google.
it.
Yeah, they all know what
I've
we're
turned
doing.
her off. Yeah, that's right. We're getting censored. They heard us. I'm just kidding. All right, we're having a commercial break. Everybody have a drink of water. Stand up, stretch. Anybody need to move around?
Jumping jacks.
The understanding
could do
of
jumping
what
jacks.
natural immunity is.
I know. Let's do a raffle.
Don't
Okay.
know
Okay, let's do the raffle.
Let's raffle something.
Let's raffle.
Yeah, come up with a good idea.
I didn't know too much
Okay,
about
we
it.
have a product called Adrenal Energy. Anybody ever feel
Oh.
tired and
I-
run down and weak? So, and this is not like just caffeine on steroids. This is Adrenal Energy is designed to actually make your adrenal glands function better and healthier. So it promotes better function to your adrenals, not overstimulates you like a Monster juice. It doesn't do that. All right, so who's gonna be the prize winner? I'm mixing it.
Pick it up.
And their winner is Linda
Hey.
Brown.
Linda!
There you go.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I love
that's
this.
nice.
Okay, well at least it's talking to the monitor again. So that's a good sign.
Got this.
Anybody else
It's
got
a good
anything?
thing that we have the young doctor working on
Oh,
that.
yeah, turn it in.
Oh, I'm supposed to turn mine in.
This one would not be able to do what we're doing. Oh, yeah. Anybody else forget to turn their ticket in?
First.
All right.
No, not at all.
It's all
No.
natural. It's natural.
Yeah, it is.
It's a natural inner use in the morning.
Yay!
One
Good job.
All right.
at lunch.
Hitting record. Okay. There we go.
Perfect. And now she used to open it right up to
I
her
do.
We believe.
So, here's what we believe. We believe every single person on the planet has their own natural ability to heal. And not just like everyone in this room and not just Dr. Mary and I. Every single one of us. So, I want you to listen to these statements and really think about them. So, Dr. Mary just said one, but your body is self-healing and self-regulating. Your body needs no help, just no interference. That's what we're doing when we're adjusting you. We're removing the interferences in your nervous system. The power that made the body heals the body. There is no other way. That is just how it is. And then your body is designed to intelligently adapt to its environment. If you have a clean host fish tank, then that's how your body will naturally be able to adapt to its environment. And this is how we believe it's possible with the 5 essentials. So if you have this still, this is where we're going to really start digging into the 5 essentials. So if you haven't taken notes yet, definitely pay attention here. And if you're new, these are the 5 essentials. When I think about the 5 essentials, I was not always following the 5 essentials. I did not always believe this about my life. When I was 7 is actually when I met Dr. Mary. Prior to then, I had my mom and my dad, and then Dr. Mary married my dad when I was 7. And I just remember being 7 and being like, oh, at my mom's house, I can eat Oreos, I can have Coke, and I can have Doritos, and cereal whenever I want, and all this stuff. And then I go to Dr. Mary's house. Do you think that's what I got at her house?
I got an apple.
Absolutely not. Like, I remember maybe like the most non-healthy thing that we would get sometimes was like Honey Nut Cheerios. Like, that was it.
Is that legal?
No.
No, like now I can't imagine. I personally can't imagine doing that. But, you know, so flash forward to when I'm 14 years old, it's 2009, and the swine flu hits. And for 7 years, I had been living with, okay, at my mom's house, it's this way. And when I go to my dad's house, it's this way. and completely opposite like paradigms of health and how to take care of your body. So I get the swine flu, and not only do I just like get the swine flu, I'm sick. Like she just told me yesterday I had 103 point something fever. And what I didn't want to do was go back to my mom's house. Not because I didn't think my mom was gonna not take care of me, but I knew that I was gonna get better if I was with Dr. Mary and she was adjusting me, because I just knew somehow at 14 years old that that was what my body needed at the time, and so that's what I did. And she adjusted me several times a day. I had lots of water, lots of soup. I don't remember any of it because I was really, when you have a fever that high, you don't remember anything. But it kind of started the change of, wow, there's another way to do health. And as a 14-year-old, I'm obviously still eating Oreos and Coke and Doritos, but at least now I know that might not be the best thing for me. And then now I'm 17 years old, start working in this office, and I'm watching more things change. I'm watching people come in and learning all these things, and I'm learning right there along with them, because I didn't listen to her when she was telling me. Well, she's my mom, like I'm not gonna listen to that. But as I started to learn and teach myself, it just completely changed my life, and it's completely changing your guys' lives. And if you haven't had that transformational, like, oh, I think I might need to think about this another way, this is it. We're gonna start here. If she hasn't convinced you that we need some help right now, this is it right now. And what you really want to make sure that you're doing is having faith. Because if I did not have faith in her and how she was taking care of me and what she was doing for me when I had the swine flu, I don't know what would have happened. But I had every single ounce of my body having faith that I was going to be fine, it'd be okay. And so, again, as we're going through the rest of this, just have some faith, because we know that right now it's a little scary out there. And we want to help you guys and give you guys the tools, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, whatever you need to do to move forward, because we all need it, right?
Absolutely. So I talked a little bit about our built-in line of defense and how our immune system builds over, gradually, and that we have that stuff available to us as we're exposed to things. And so this is a little conversation about having faith over fear, is to not be fearful of your environment, to not be fearful of maybe what you were taught was don't touch this and don't eat dirt and don't, lick the steering wheel or whatever you were not supposed to do, right? That we run around being fearful and then learning, like we're telling our body that we can't handle it, right? And then that next line of defense is when the antigens come in, and then we also even talk about like the cell health and how your body can adapt and heal from anything in any direction. And when we look at the immune system and how we're talking about, what's the design, I should have asked you this question before I change the slide. What's the design of never getting sick and never building a healthy immune system, and now you're an adult with a weak immune system? What do you think that does to your body? Right? And who's heard that cancer is actually a weak immune system? We have all heard that, right? Everybody knows that as true, right? People have cancer, have weak immune systems. It's like automatic, like, so we understand what happened. And what really cancer is an adaptation. It's your body adapting to its environment. It's your body adapting to the brown fish tank, right? Because what do cells live on? I didn't tell you it was going to be pop quizzes. What do you get your energy, and what is cells
sugar.
supposed to be living on?
Sugar.
Sugar's a good answer, except for it's the opposite answer. Because, and we'll come back to your answer in just a second, right? What cells are supposed to live on? Go like this. Oxygen, right? Cells live on oxygen. And when cells live on oxygen, our body processes and metabolizes properly. And when we get too much sugar in our body, so you weren't too far off, it's just you're watching the Channel 2 news instead of the, right? Too much sugar in your body leads to cancer, because cancer cells live on sugar. Why? And how do we know that? Because when they do a PET scan, what are they looking for when they do a PET scan? Anybody know?
Inflammation.
They're looking for cancer
Oh,
Does everybody know that? At a PET scan, they're looking for cancer cells, right? And so they're scanning your body, and so what do they give you? They give you a little drink of a sugar radioactive liquid. And that sugary radioactive liquid, you drink it, and then after a little while you go under the x-ray machine, and where the sugar goes is the, that's what a PET scan is, right? And if a PET scan is looking for where sugar goes, then cancer by definition is a cell that lives on sugar, and they know that, otherwise they wouldn't have developed a PET scan. Yet, had anybody ever heard that before? Had anybody ever heard if you have cancer you shouldn't eat sugar? Some of you.
Yes.
Some of you have been in my class before. Most of you not, right? And so we understand it's not cancer. Like we used to think in my generation, those of you in my generation, what we used to think about cancer, we were kind of like, I don't really want to talk about cancer because I don't want to pull the unlucky cancer straw, right? Like, ooh, let's not talk about that because I don't want to jinx myself or something. Like we thought it was like a hex. They got cancer. But what we know about it is actually, I think, quite empowering. It's your environment and what you do in your lifestyle that actually causes cancer to happen in the first place. It's not an unlucky straw, which sounds a little bit scary because you go, oh, crap. You mean I caused this? Right? But then you go, oh, wait a minute. I caused this. What does that mean? You can change it, right? Can I get an amen there?
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
That's good stuff. So the prevalence and the awareness of that little fact right there, we're having this conversation about the immune system because we're having this conversation about what do we do with our immune system. We want to make it stronger, and all the things that we're doing so far in this country, or what we've been told so far, is doing nothing but weakening our immune system. We're not strengthening our immune system. As a matter of fact, guess how you get censored on Facebook? Tell people to take vitamin D3. They didn't want anybody to tell anybody. There was a period of time when this was all first evolving that we were like, you guys, just take your D3, take your C, they're going to strengthen your immune system, you're going to be okay. And they censored us off Facebook. I have a friend that's a medical doctor. She's a functional medical doctor. She quit working during COVID. She said, screw this, I'm retiring. Why? Because she got taken off of every, way that she was texting people, emailing people, Facebooking people to tell people the truth about vitamins, and we were told you're not allowed to tell anybody that. They were censoring us,
Especially
telling us we couldn't tell people that.
Especially vitamin D3 or
Yeah.
But is anyone teaching you how to strengthen your immune system?
They're not talking about it.
No.
They're not talking about it.
No, because there's money against
sick care, right?
That's right.
Sick care.
I go get right.
Not
So, we talked about this already too. The power that made the body heals the body from above down, inside out. It doesn't happen any other way. Your adjustments are so important because what does it do? It connects you to your above down, inside out. Right? Your brain already knows and is equipped with everything it needs to do in order to make your body function and heal. And as a matter of fact, they did studies and found out that within 15 minutes of one chiropractic adjustment done to the thoracic spine releases interleukin-2. I'm not expecting anybody to know what the heck that is, so I'll tell you. Interleukin-2 is a part of a white blood cell system that kills cancer. Researchers in cancer actually found out that interleukin-2 kills cancer, so what they do? They made a synthetic form of interleukin-2 and then sold it in a shot to people for $1,000. Yes, you know, Emma. Thousands and thousands of dollars it costs to get a shot of fake interleukin-2. You guys get your adjustment and you release interleukin-2 within 15 minutes naturally into your body every single time you get an adjustment. So guess what? First thing you need when you're trying to strengthen your immune system, chiropractic adjustment. I don't care if you've had 4 or 45 or 4,000,005 adjustments. It does it every single time without fail because it reconnects your brain, your body, and runs how your immune system works. Every time. Every time.
Isn't that cool?
Next slide.
It's a great body.
It is a great body.
It's a great body.
So where is your immune system, Dr. Shelby?
Right. So how many people had any any idea that your gut houses 70% of your immune system?
I've heard that.
4 of you, that's good.
Right?
Oh, 5.
There's
Okay,
quite a
good.
few actually.
I know,
I was
right?
expecting none.
Hands are going up.
Yeah. So how important then do you think what you're eating is to your immune system? If over 70% of what you're putting in your gut is for your immune system, if you're eating McDonald's and Doritos and Oreos and all the things I used to love as a kid, what is that doing for your immune system? It's right. It's not doing anything good. And what sucks about that is that your gut has all these healthy bacteria in there, and those bacteria are meant to fight off viruses and things that enter into your body. And so if they do get to your gut, if they're not gone by the time they go through the rest of your digestive tract, you have more that are supposed to protect you there. But if you're creating that, like we've been saying, that bad host, that bad environment for your body, your immune system's not going to be able to protect you, and you will get sick, and that stuff like that will happen. Your microbiota in your gut is very vital. And so when you're adding things like antibiotics, how many of us have been on an antibiotic in our life?
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Right?
You?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, for sure.
Absolutely.
Before anybody knew better.
And so antibiotics, they're not just taking away the bad bacteria that you might have in your body. They're taking away all of it. So what do they normally do when you take an antibiotic? What do they prescribe after? Probiotics, to give you back some bacteria, but it's not doing what it needs to do, because it's probably also a synthetic probiotic that to just help with something that you had going on.
And I think that's even new generationally, because I love the fact that she has in her mind that they give you a probiotic after the antibiotic, because what do we all know? They just gave us more antibiotics, right?
Yeah.
Nobody ever gave you a
Well, I
probiotic.
think you taught
When
me
you-
that you should take a probiotic
that I
after
did.
the
Never heard of that.
I'm sure that I did, but they
Yeah.
don't. They just went, oh well, that didn't work. Here, have another
You're having
antibiotic.
Well, let's go off that
Give you more.
principle then,
Right.
because if you're given an antibiotic and they just give you more after because you're still kind of not doing great, then your body just gets used to antibiotics. And so then anytime you have to take one in the future for something else, it doesn't work. Your body gets used to it.
That's true.
So when you're taking antibiotics, you need to be really careful. And when you're eating sugar, you need to be even more careful. So,
There's the pile.
Oh my gosh.
oh,
Is that-
the
is
good
that our
food.
snack?
Yeah, that's what I made for you. You're gonna have some of that one.
So, when you're eating sugar, less than 10% of your daily calories should be from sugar. As Americans, we eat 3/4 of a pound every single day. That is insane. So I brought this for you all to see.
Great.
That's 3.
That's fat.
This is 1 pound of fat.
1 pound of fat.
So just imagine like a little less than this of sugar. It's just visual that we're eating every single day. And what we know is that some of the effects of eating sugar are immediate. I can eat sugar, but I know when I'm doing something like the advanced plan, which you're going to learn about later, and I eat it again, I might get a headache. I might not feel great. My stomach might hurt. And some people, it takes time. It can create autoimmune disorders. It can build and feed cancer in our body. And so we know that when we're eating sugar, it can reduce how our white blood cells are able to work in our body. So what you're going to learn is how to not eat sugar.
You can switch sides.
And what we're going to do in the challenge.
So glycation. I'm alright. Glycation is the breakdown of sugar and how your body metabolizes sugar. And what happens during glycation is that there are toxins that are actually released into your body that are like dirty burning. So when we talk about cells that live on sugar and then your body starts getting used to sugar, first of all, it makes you crave more sugar, right? So that's where your cravings are coming from. And we'll help you figure out how to do that in the 30-day challenge. Get rid of cravings. And then the result of the sugar burning in the cell is actually making more toxins in your system versus how your cell lives on oxygen. So the glycation, you can compare it to like if you have a coal burning fire like a barbecue that's cooking with coal or wood, when the top of that thing gets all that black soot in the top of it, and we know that when that burns that product, it releases and
Creosote,
turns that
that's a
stuff and then
creosote.
makes a bunch of soot and dirt and grime and grossness. And if you can imagine, if you take that kind of byproduct and put it in your cells, this is the equation of what happens in your body with sugar. Because sugar leaves a bunch of byproducts that are toxic that your body doesn't know what to do with. And so what it does with it is it stuffs it on the outside of your cells, and then your cell wall doesn't become permeable anymore, and everything becomes sticky and gooey, and then you can't metabolize stuff properly. And so now the outside wall can't absorb oxygen anymore, so now that cell can't live on oxygen anymore, so it starts living on itself and living on sugar inside itself. And so that nothing is fluent anymore, stuff doesn't flow. It's like, remember when we were kids, we used to take Wonder Bread and we could ball it up and whip it at your sibling, right?
Yeah.
That's what your cells are like on the inside after glycation. They get sticky and gummy and nothing can penetrate that thing, right? And can you almost feel that little wad of Wonder Bread in your gut? You think about it? It's gross. So, they also talk about the evidence as suggesting that obesity impairs your immunity. And I'm going to go right to the next slide, because who heard of comorbidities? Right, all over the news. Now, if you haven't heard that, you're like sleeping or something, right? So everybody who's dying from COVID had actually comorbidities that caused them to do that, right? I guess I'll ask you this question. Everybody know what the heck a comorbidity is? All right, let me go back to that. It means it's the partner to why somebody died, right? So like a co-pilot on the plane is one guy's driving the plane, the other guy is co-pilot. They're driving the plane together, right? So when you die of COVID, you don't just die of COVID. You die of your thing that killed you, morbid, right? So comorbidities are things that actually kill. So the truth of the matter is, COVID's not really killing anybody. The comorbidities are killing people.
Right.
And what's more common, the most dangerous, as they say, comorbidity that happens is obesity. Why? And each one of these things are actually, so you hear somebody who had, well, they died of COVID, but then, they had heart disease, and they had diabetes, and they had high blood pressure, and they were overweight, right? And we kind of go, okay, well, those are all the things that actually cause that to happen. And so we're all hoping that when I get COVID, I'm not going to die, because hopefully I have less comorbidities. I didn't either.
Me neither.
All right, so you either.
Right.
We're having a party. So what we understand about that is the less of these comorbidities you have, the better, right? So the news should be telling people how not to be this instead of how to get a shot or put a mask on or hide in your house all day long, right? And so the truth of the matter is these things are all things that cause inflammation in the body. And what COVID does is when your body responds to it, it's actually giving you like a flush of inflammation, so much so that, and I've heard some people talk about, it feels like they're drowning. It's like the stuff that fills up the cells. So remember I said earlier, glycation means that cell gets clogged. COVID is clogging cells so bad that oxygen can't get in your body anymore. And if you have too much inflammation, your body can't process inflammation. But here's what you guys don't realize. Your body processes inflammation every single day. It knows how to do it. But if we clog it up too much, it's like we have a bad drain, right, in the house. And all you're going to do is put more stuff in it. That's not going to fix the problem. Do you get that? So we have to get rid of these comorbidities. Go ahead and switch slides. And so our defense mechanism becomes, and you can change these things with food. Every single one of those comorbidities are things that you can actually change with lifestyle. It's how you're taking care of yourself and what you're putting in your body, right? And so I want you guys to start looking at that pile of food instead of going, yum, that looks good. I want you to start thinking, am I going to make my fish tank brown or clear when I put this in my face? Right? Because now it becomes a responsibility. It becomes a responsibility to our society. It becomes a responsibility to each other and our family members, and people are counting on you. right? It's not just fun anymore. It's irresponsible. Whew. God just threw that in my head. I have no idea where that just came from. But hallelujah. Can I get an amen on that? It is a fact. And the truth of the matter is we have to take on responsibility of our own health because nobody's coming to save you.
Are you
Jesus
videotaping this
coming
right
to
now?
save you. We
Yes.
are.
You
We are,
Oh,
Tavia.
good.
Nobody
Good.
on our planet is coming with a magic potion to make it all better. It's not happening. Right? The truth of the matter is we already know what we need to do. We just have to go do it. And quit being babies about, I don't want to do that. Right? We gotta put our big girl pants on and our big boy pants on and take responsibility for our health. So when we change our nutrition, one of the things that's important about getting rid of inflammation in your body, if you're already inflamed, right? When we want to take on, everybody's got some level of inflammation right where they're starting right now. And that we all need to do something different about it, even me, right? There's always things we can do better. So the truth about fat is not that fat makes you fat. That's wrong. That's a lie.
Right.
The truth is, fat actually makes you, healthy fat, makes you less inflamed. Healthy fat gets rid of inflammation. So what do you need? You gotta take healthy fat in.
Olive oil.
Right? And that doesn't mean you quit eating fat. And as a matter of fact, how we got all these comorbidities in our country right now is because in the 1970s, they started telling everybody to go on a low-fat diet. And to eat more low-fat foods that are full of carbs, which, by the way, guess what else causes inflammation in your body? Carbs. So we're eating low-fat diet, high-carb stuff, and everybody's got comorbidities.
Carbs is just sugar.
It is. It turns into sugar. You go ahead.
You're on a roll.
I got it. I know it, right?
Man,
Woo!
you are something else.
So
With baby.
that statement, you are what they ate.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you want to
Right.
have beef and it's not organic or grain-free, grass-fed, all the things, you're eating whatever that commercially raised cow is eating. And that's antibiotics. They're having a hole in their stomach and being shoved food. Like they're not getting food naturally. And so when you're eating that goes for any.
Say that.
Well, I'm pointing at chickens.
The chicken.
But I really mean, if you're eating any meat or even fish, salmon, stuff like that, you have to make sure that you know where it's coming from and that it is organic. Because if you're trying to live the 5 essentials and be as healthy as you can be, reduce your inflammation, if you're doing everything but forgetting this thing, it doesn't matter because you're still eating whatever that animal is eating.
Right. She makes the point about like the antibiotics, where we could say, well, I didn't take any antibiotics. Every time you eat commercial chicken, you're eating antibiotics.
You
Right.
see those chicken breasts and look how big
Yeah.
they are.
Right. Gigantic. Right.
Yeah.
Hormones and antibiotics. So there's 2 plans that we're going to go over, and I want to tell you guys, in the 30-day challenge, we're going to be feeding you guys what to do during the 30-day challenge. And one of the things you're going to do during this 30-day challenge is pick your nutrition plan. The core plan is the basic of the plans, and it's for people who want to just clean up, get rid of toxic food. So you're going to be eating more organic choices. You're going to be aware of foods that have pesticides and toxins and antibiotics and things in it. So you're going to clean up your choices, as well as eat these naturally raised animals. And if you're having grains at all, you would have them as whole grains so that they're actually got the fiber on them still, because the difference between a whole grain and a not so whole grain is the fibrous part of it is actually beneficial for your digestive system, and it lowers the carb hit if you have fiber at the same time that you're getting it. So, and that's like the difference also between, like, take a rice grain that's whole grain rice, and then you break it down to Uncle Ben's that you throw in the microwave for 30 seconds and it becomes rice, right? That's not rice anymore. And that lost its process so many times over that it doesn't even have its healthy fiber in it anymore. So we make better choices like that. And then lowering your carb intake, having a variety of fruit, but having it earlier in the day, because earlier in the day is when you're going to burn that fruit off and you don't eat fruit right before you go to bed. So those are some of the changes in the core plan. The advanced plan is the one that is the most highly recommended if you have a comorbidity, if you need to lose weight, if you take any medication at all. This is how you're going to get off of that medication, how you're going to get rid of your comorbidities, how you're going to lose weight. And this is because it's triggering in your body natural health and healing. Your body starts living on real live food. People lose weight like that. We've seen people in 30-day challenges lose 8 pounds in 30 days. We've seen that stuff happen. Happens more often in men than it does in women. Right, but a lot of women even 20, 25 pounds, because the advanced plan makes you start changing from a sugar burner, changes your metabolism over to a fat burner. When you go from a sugar burners, you have no energy. 20 minutes after you eat, you want to take a nap. 20 minutes after you eat, you want sugar. Right, your body starts craving sugar. The thing that's actually craving sugar is the bacteria in your gut. Your microbiome in your gut. There's bacteria and pro and prebiotics that want sugar, and there's pro and prebiotics that want proteins and vegetables. And you're gonna change those monsters in there over so they quit going, give me a donut, and they will stop. And what we've done this enough times with enough people that the process is less painful if you just chop it off. Right? A lot of times people just like add a little fruit and vegetable at a time, but they still like their little bit of sweet tooth things, so they kind of keep on. That lingers the problem for a longer period of time. The best way to actually change is to kind of go through the 3 to 7 day process of getting unaddicted to sugar. And I say unaddicted to sugar because sugar is a drug. Write that down. Sugar is a drug. Sugar is a drug. And you would never tell an alcoholic or a drug addict to go off of it a little bit at a time.
Alcohol's a sugar.
It is. Alcohol's a sugar. You would never tell an alcoholic, just cut back 1 or 2 drinks a day.
Right.
And then you're going to be better. Right? They're not. That doesn't happen that way. So, you moved me on. So, when we do the 30-day challenge, we're going to go through the advanced plan. And the advanced plan is really literally getting rid of all grains, all sugar, lowering the kind of fruit that you have so it's low glycemic stuff, and you're going to really live on lots of healthy high fats and vegetables. And you will be blown away at how much energy you have, how fast you start to feel better, sleep better, think better. Like the sugar buzz goes away in about 4 or 5 days, and you go, wow, like I can think again. Right? And all that kind of stuff starts happening. Thank you for bouncing around. So we have immune boosting nutrients that we're going to talk about now. So you can bust right over to the next slide. So some of the nutrients that we need that should be in our food, right? So vitamins are things that we really want to try to get as much as we can out of the food that we're eating. And yet in our country today, we have a problem with the nutrition value of the food that we're eating. So if you take an apple from 1945, the vitamins that are in an apple from 1945, vitamins and nutrients in an apple from 1945, equivalent of 3 apples today. So you have to eat a whole lot of fruits and vegetables in order to get the vitamins and nutrients that we should be getting out of our food. So that's not the answer. The answer is you have to supplement. There's some things that we don't have to supplement, some things that we do. I'm not a big advocate of you gotta take 1 million vitamins, but there are some basics that are really important. Vitamin D is number 1. If you do nothing else, if you're a guest here and you do nothing else but get signed up to at least get your spine checked, I always tell people if you're not getting your spine checked, don't bother buying vitamins, right? And then the other thing I want to tell everybody else is this is a conversation about vitamins that are value and important for your response to this COVID and building your immune system. So the first thing I just start to tell you right away is you're going to spend some money. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. It costs money to get healthy vitamins in your body, right? And I'm not, my business isn't all about vitamins. My business is all about getting your power turned on. But we do what we do in this office because people need to know what we teach them. And vitamin D is the most important vitamin that people should be taking right now because we live in Michigan where we don't get enough natural sun exposure, which is how our body makes vitamin D. And if we don't get enough of that, guess what happens coming up right now? Right? Here comes flu season. We're not outside enough, we're not getting enough sun exposure, and our vitamin D levels go through the ground. Research shows that vitamin D3 should be, blood serum levels in your body should be 70 to 90. Should be your readings on your blood test. 70 to 90. Blood serum levels. What the medical world, when they say, Don, you passed your blood test, your vitamin D is great, your blood, your glucose and everything else, you're good, carry on. Those ranges of vitamin D levels for a medical reading on a blood test is 30 to 50. Way lower than what it should be. 30 to 50 only protects us from a vitamin D level of our bone structure. It's protecting you from rickets, right? And anything gets less than 30, you start feeling threatened that you're gonna break bones and get rickets and have this other disease process, right? It's bad for your bones. But vitamin D has been researched and now proven over research over many times, not just during COVID. This has been coming on for a very long time already. That they knew that from 70 to 90 blood serum levels fights cancer. They know people who get diagnosed with cancer have very low and through the ground vitamin D levels. First thing they do when somebody gets a diagnosis of cancer, first thing they do is tell them to take vitamin D3. So if you leave here with nothing else, make sure you have vitamin D3 in your, and our vitamin D3, why I like it the best is because it also has a probiotic in the supplement. It's a very inexpensive supplement, and one tablet has 5,000 IUs in it. And so it's powerful, and the probiotic is present because the probiotic needs to be there in order for the vitamin D to absorb into your system. If you're taking D without probiotic, your body can't pull it in. Next slide is vitamin C. Vitamin C is important for raising our immune system because your vitamin C levels increase your white blood cells. Not much more I have to talk about there, because what do you need white blood cells for? Next slide.
How much vitamin C?
We actually have a perspective sheet that we're going to give you at the end of you have it in your hand, but we're going to talk about it later. Zinc. Zinc is a supplement that, first of all, we know it's really important for raising your immune system, right? So all these things are important for raising your immune system. Zinc is important for raising immunity because it has 300, it stimulates in your metabolism 300 different enzymes that are needed for what we call the Krebs cycle. Anybody know what the Krebs cycle is? Okay, so short little science lesson. Krebs cycle is how your cell and your ATP, which is your cell engine, like your little motor that runs your cell inside, needs energy to run. And that energy runs through this Krebs cycle of enzymes that are released in order to go from a hamburger to energy in your cells, right? It's like, it's way bigger than we can even imagine. We're blown away when you stop and think about how you can digest food and then what it turns into in your body. Like, God is amazing and how He created your body. But zinc stimulates in your body 300 different necessary enzymes that takes that process and makes it happen and raises your immune system function, right? So we don't have to have busy thinking about the science behind it. Just take your zinc, because you do. How about elderberry? Yes, ma'am.
I need another pen.
Another pen, sure.
What milligram of zinc?
I'm going to tell you that soon too. That's on the perspective, and you have it with you, and you get to take it home. Elderberry and echinacea. Who's heard this is important for COVID? Right? Right? We've all heard this is really important stuff. First of all, these things have been important long before COVID ever hit the market, and these things are important. I read little notes about. You have 50% less chance of actually dying from COVID with having echinacea in your body, and then you get better in 1.5 less days than you would without it. And the elderberry is you are sick for 4 less days. So research shows people have elderberry, people don't have elderberry, 4 less days sickness overall. Right, so you're not sick as long, or you don't get, right? Remember I said earlier, I'm going to sneeze on you and you and you, and one of you gets sick for 2 days and one gets sick for 3 weeks? Elderberry, right? chiropractic adjustments, vitamin C. They don't get sick.
So are these two things you should have on hand and only take when you're sick, or should you take them all?
That's a really great question. I'm not a component, or proponent, sorry, I'm retarded, of echinacea on a daily basis. Elderberry, yes. Elderberry's okay. Echinacea should be when you're fighting something, and our immune support is a combination of things that also includes mushrooms, that we've also know mushrooms are really important for fighting infection. So I don't think there's enough elderberry in that immune support that would cause problems. But she's bringing up and talking about a very valid point, is that elderberry echinacea, over a long period of time can make you not respond to the echinacea anymore. So it's really a good idea to kind of take it for a while and then not take it for a while and then take it for a while again. Make a good point. Is that still me? So then look at your perspectives. Here we go. So this is this slide. So we outlined for you on this lovely little piece of paper something that we are calling your perspective on immune boosting. And it outlines all the 5 essentials. So it's kind of like we took notes for you. Aren't we nice? All the 5 essentials of what you need to do in each one of these categories on your 5 essentials to target boosting your immune system. Then on the back of it is the amounts and quantities of things that you need to take. And then we also broke it down into categories of, I just want to boost my immune system. I'm not sick. I'm not in contact with people who are sick, and I already had COVID and I'm over it, and I'm just boosting my immune system to make sure whenever somebody's variant comes around, I'm ready for it, right? And then exposure list is what would happen if you either are exposed or you're around people who have COVID. And then the recovery is what you take if you're, having it, your friend's trying to recover from it. How many people know somebody who had COVID and then after COVID they have a lot of repercussions? Right? Almost everybody in the room. That's where the recovery comes in. Right? This is how we breathe again without feeling like we're suffocating. This is how we get our taste buds back and our smell back and our, right, all the things that end up happening to people as a repercussion of that. This is where that comes in. Right? And guess what? You can heal. Your body knows how to heal from everything. So the perspective is really important, and we have bundles that we put together for you. She's been popping through the slides so you can see. But you also have in your packet of handouts the order forms for those bundles. So you can decide which one you're in. So here, the good news is you can get the bundle and you get a higher discount if you get certain bundles, and you can pick whichever bundle you want to do. And then you get 20% off. If you buy individual vitamins, they're at 15% off because you're here tonight. Can you come to the office tomorrow and order a bundle? No. You can, but you won't get it for 20% off. So what we want you to do, even if we don't have, and I'll tell you the other thing is that we're waiting like everybody else on the planet for shipments to show up. We have vitamin D3 here tonight, but we're actually only going to allow 1 bottle per person who's buying something to go per person, because we want everybody to be able to get a bottle, but more is on its way. So when you make an order, we're going to have you go ahead and make your order. You get the discount, and then we take what we have available here, whatever you're purchasing, and then the rest of it we'll mark it so that we know that we owe that to you, so it's on order in the office. Questions behind that stuff?
I just want to say,
Please.
that it looks like there's no difference between the exposure and the recovery bundle. And they're the same supplements, but when you are exposed or you're in recovery, you're taking more. You're doing it more often.
Thank you for making that point.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's more.
Yeah, so
it
like
is the same stuff. It's just
this was
more.
the stuff we were blown away about, because we're sitting in the seminar and they're teaching us this kind of stuff, and we go 45,000 IUs of D3. That's what you're reading on there when you're recovering. Because there's 9 a day that you take, and I personally right now take 2 a day. And when somebody's sick in my house, they take 3. I've never given anybody 9, but I will now. If somebody's sick and fighting something, I didn't even know we could go that high with that number. But We can. And the research that backs it up is Maximize Living has scientists and nutritionists that are researching this stuff, evaluating responses, looking at the outcomes, like Karen and I talked, at the beginning of COVID, and she even had from the hospital reports of how the higher statistic of people surviving and coming off ventilators when they had D3, and they had D3 levels. But they won't let us tell you that. Hopefully I don't get censored, because I just told you. And then the most important part of all this conversation to hear is that it's not just the vitamin that's going to get you well, but it's how your body handles the vitamin. So that's why all the 5 essentials are important, but then the first and foremost and most important thing is to make sure you get adjusted, right? Make sure you get your power turned on. We want to avoid toxins. That's one of the 5 essentials that you have. So minimizing toxins is on your perspective. And again, some of that comes in the conversation of what we're eating and how foods are toxic. But sometimes it also falls into the category of maybe what we're being exposed to in our environment. What they find out is that you have a higher risk actually of exposure to toxins in your house than you do outside. Interesting little fact. And the stuff that you're all rubbing on your hands is very toxic. First of all, it's really bad for you to kill your natural bacteria, because you need this natural bacteria to start. That's your first line of defense mechanism. And when you're killing it, you're causing a lot of damage. And then you're absorbing alcohol through your skin all day long. And that would be if your hand sanitizer only had alcohol in it, which would be the least toxic list of things, because those hand sanitizers have a lot of other junk in them. And the same thing with your countertops. Stop antibacterializing your entire house. They even talk about, I had a plumber one time tell me about how antibacterial soaps that you're using in your kitchen are actually damaging drain fields. Anybody heard this before? Because what do drain fields work on? If everybody's ever lived in a country and you know what drain fields are, they're like where your septic stuff goes through the drain field, and that's how the water cleans itself. Guess how it does it? Healthy bacteria. And if you have antibacterial washing stuff, it ruins the drain fields, right? So bacteria is not the bad guy. It's actually a good guy. What is a bad guy is a lot of food additives. This is what the FDA approved additives in your food, that if you don't look for it, nobody's going to save you from it but you. And this is all the stuff you're reading on the boxes. And these things are banned in other countries, by the way. They're allowed in the United States because the FDA said it was okay. Because guess what? Who told the FDA how to say that? Somebody who was handing them money. Yep. So then we got all those things that are toxic. Read it on your food labels. You should be reading everything you eat, right? And what you first and foremost should do is eat stuff that doesn't have a food label. Because your lettuce and your spinach and your apple doesn't have a food label, right? But then when you're eating stuff that has a food label, read what's in there. If you can't pronounce 5 of those things and there's 27 there, you're done. You're not eating that, right? There should be only 5 ingredients. You should be able to say them all. How you can avoid toxins is change what you're exposed to, change things over to organic. We already talked about eating grass-fed meats that are organic, so make sure your foods are healthy. Meat products and meat byproducts are the most important thing to have organic. So if you think you can't afford organic, then just start doing organic meats or quit eating meat. Those are the choices. Now, I'm not an advocate of no meat. I think we need meat. But in the Bible times, we slaughtered a calf and ate it for, 75 people ate it for a month or something. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean? We didn't eat as much meat as we're eating today. So I think if you all cut in half what you eat, you can save money so that you can afford the organic meat, and then it'll be affordable, right? And then you always just question, how much is it going to cost me to not change that in healthcare fees, right? Because how much does cancer cost?
Billions. Sometimes.
Lots and lots of money. Avoid smoking. I don't have to go over some of that stuff. Plastics are toxic. Too much alcohol is bad. Sir?
What do you mean by the using of clean body care?
things that are not toxic, and I started to say this, I don't know if I finished, when I was talking about the antibacterial stuff. If you clean like your kitchen countertop with like fantastic 409 antibacterial whatever spray stuff, and then you get dries and you wipe it all down and you go, wow, look at that clean counter, and then you take your food and you put it on the counter and you make yourself a sandwich. Now you've got 409 in your bread that you're eating in your sandwich, right? So cleaning your house, and this is also true about your dishwasher soap. I'm wondering sometimes if dishwasher soap's like overrated, because if it's a hot cycle that it's running and you halfway clean the stuff in the first place, I just kind of go like, do we need soap in there? Like hot water should be boiling in the plates as much as it is. But that even being said, how many of you notice when you pull something out of the dishwasher, it's got a little bit of a leftover residue and kind of a film right thing, and then if you have that, you buy the fancy blue stuff that makes the film go away, but then that has a chemical in it, and then you take that glass of chemical lined whatever and fill it with your water. That I got my purified drinking water in my glass, drinking toxins. So it's all about cleaning your household stuff, and I suggest you do that. This is one of those things that if you're eating a bunch of sugar right now, you're not going to just run home and try to figure out how to change your household cleaning products, right? But if you've already, do this stuff in layers. Like if you're already taking care of, I don't eat sugar and I'm eating organic, but my household products are not exactly environmentally friendly and clean for me to be taking in. So that's your next step to change. So there's like layers as you're changing stuff, and stuff that's like emergency, stop this right now, and this other stuff you do later on. Same thing with your Teflon coated pans. Anybody's got a Teflon coated pan when you're ready to quit taking in toxins, those things need to go in the garbage because Teflon's toxic. I can't even tell you anything different than that.
They took that out the market already.
They did, but a lot of people still have it in their cupboard. Can I come and look at everybody's cupboard? Anybody still have some?
So, just in talking
throw 'em
about
out.
toxic in general, there's a lot of YouTube videos on the test kitchen, test different, like frying pans and stuff, and what's the most toxic. Some are toxic at high heat, some aren't.
Yep.
So there's a lot of information to
Sure, yep,
Yeah.
if you look in the right place.
Yes.
Don't go on Google and say, is Teflon?
Yeah.
They'll say, good for you, right? So natural detoxification that we want to do, there are, it's certainly certain foods that you take in, and keeping very hydrated, keeping moving, which we're going to talk about that when we get to the exercise slide, because you have a natural process of detoxifying, and we want to support the things that your body naturally knows how to do. So this helps you to actually build a healthy immune system by detoxing or putting in, whether you detox through a process, which, there are detox products that we sell in supplements, but I think the most important step in detoxing is starting to get rid of the thing that you're putting in your body that's toxic, right? And then we start going from there. So if you're still smoking cigarettes, you don't want to do a detox and then you're still putting stuff in, right? So start with the quit putting the stuff in. Next slide.
Okay, so how many of us had some trouble over COVID sticking to our workout routines?
Okay.
Yeah. Me too. I don't even want to say how many times I worked out during COVID. But I started working out with Dr. Mary when I came to this office, and as part of your guys' challenge, every Thursday night here at the office, we're doing workout nights. So I'm going to show you guys how you can burn fat for up to 36 hours after you work out for 12 minutes and give you some ideas of what you can do at home. So let's get started. So when you're exercising, it's going to help you reduce your risk to illness. And we know that because it's flushing out bacteria, it's raising your body temperature, so it's killing the bad bacteria. And then it's also reducing stress. You've heard people say that before. If you exercise, you can help reduce stress. You can feel better. You'll reduce any problems that you might be having with your emotions. And then it's also helping boost your immune system. So it's not just reducing illness, but it's boosting your immune system. So if you're working out 4 to 5 days a week for 30 minutes at a time, you're reducing your ability to get sick by 40%. And that's just by working out for 12 minutes a day, 4 times a week, or 30 minutes a day. When you look at the statistics right now, when we're talking about exercising, only 1 in 5 adults are meeting what we need to be doing with our physical activity. And a lot of adults that are inactive have a higher risk for early death, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, some of these comorbidities that we were talking about earlier, just from being inactive. 25% of children 5 and up already have plaque forming in their arteries. And people think plaque, and they think that they have to be a smoker or they have to be someone that doesn't take good care of themselves. These are 5-year-old kids. They're not smoking. They're not doing anything, but at 5 they're already having plaque forming. And then 60% of all 15 to 19-year-olds. And all the rest of it that's on there is just some really sad statistics about how we really, really, really need to get moving. And so I'm really excited that I will be leading these exercise nights every Thursday. So I can show you that it doesn't take an hour and a half at the gym, because I don't think I've ever spent an hour and a half at the gym.
What time is it on Thursday?
6:50. What time do we
45.
close? 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 was right when we closed, so it'll be right after we close.
6:45.
6:30. It's on
Yeah,
your
say
card.
6:30, because I can finish adjusting while she starts.
Mhm.
Because there's 2 of us.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm putting it all together. We have a little conversation about what is health, and when we think about health and defining health, all these things we just talk about are what we do to be healthy. But when we try to define what is health, and some of you know, those of you who are guests maybe don't know, but how do you normally determine how you're healthy when you get out of bed every day? What do you base it on?
How I feel.
You base it on how we feel, don't we? That's like the barometer that we have for it. But when you look at the word health, health is, by definition, says that's not just an absence of symptoms. As a matter of fact, sometimes you can be healthy even while you're having symptoms, right? But the word health has a root word to it. If you take that TH off the end of it, what word do you see there? Heal. So
Heal.
health is not based on how you feel, but how well you heal. And I love this definition because God designed your body to be self-healing and self-regulating, and it does that through the nervous system, right? And so the nervous system is vital to how every system in your body works. For your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, your food to digest, your nervous system has to be connected. All these things that we're going to do for raising our immunity and changing our environment relies on the very fact that your nervous system works. Would there be any amount, everybody remember Christopher Reeves?
Yes.
Any amount of vitamin we could give him that would make his immune system better? Think about it, right? His spinal cord was severed. He was no longer living from the head down. So his immune system didn't work, right? None of his organs worked. And there'd be no amount of vitamins you could give him that would make any of that better, because the nervous system is what we rely on for everything that your body has to heal from, right? And so when we look at the structure, and this is what is really important, and those of you who are guests in the office, never been checked, but those of you who are regular patients, what do we talk about in this office? Posture, alignment, subluxation, right? Your posture and your alignment, because your structure is what's in housing that very nervous system that has to run everything that your body has to do. And it's the most important system that you have. So the connection to chiropractic and immunity, and I also already explained this a little bit about that interleukin-2, but the interleukin-2 thing that they saw and found in the bloodstream was actually shown in patients who have 5 years or more of regular chiropractic maintenance adjustments have a 200% greater immune system competency than somebody who doesn't. Right? Anybody here been with me for 5 years or more? I see a couple of you. Right? Right? And so when we start to get excited about thinking about, it's not just about getting rid of this pain that brought you here, but it's really about changing your life. And I promise you, the people that didn't raise their hand maybe haven't just been here long enough, but the people that did, who've been here for 5 years or more, will there ever be a day in your life when you don't get adjusted again? It's not like a I'm all done thing, right? Once you learn and understand how healthy your body works, when you change the way that your environment is working and you apply the 5 essentials, you wouldn't want to go back to donuts. You wouldn't want to go back to taking antibiotics. You wouldn't go, right? There's a conscious learning that when you understand what choice is and you have a realization of what path you're going to pick, you can't go back. right? And people don't come here because they feel like they have to. I have people say that to me all the time. Well, I don't want to start getting adjusted because when I start getting adjusted, I have to do it the rest of my life, right? It's kind of, to me, that sounds like I don't want to brush my teeth because I got to brush my teeth again tomorrow. I got to brush my teeth, right? And it's just something that you do for your health. And it sounds a little funny and a little foreign, especially if you've never heard it before, right? But it's really something that people don't know and realize that is really what drives how your body's functioning. And when you work with the thing that's functioning and healing, lives change, people change, right? And so in this 30-day challenge, and I guess I want to say one of your action steps before I turn this over to you, because I want you to do the 30-day challenge. But part of the action step that I want you to hear and understand is going to be on this piece of paper right here. Thank you. She keeps handing me stuff. I love it. So who has this piece of paper? Hold it up. It says at the top, 5 essential examination. Find that piece of paper. It's really important. So there's 2 conversations I want to have here. Some of you in this office are already patients and you're getting your adjustments already pretty regularly. But while we're having this conversation, there's maybe even a little bit of a tug in your heart feeling for somebody that you know and love and care about that you wish would have been here, number 1. Or you wish that they knew and understood what you know and understand about chiropractic. Sometimes, some of you, it's your very spouse. Or maybe people in your house that you haven't even necessarily thought about talking about yet, right? So children and spouses or loved ones, people like that, you know, once you understand it, it's not wait until somebody has a neck pain. It's let's get their power turned on now, right? Those of you that are guests here, we want you to also take the time to look at the next section down. So the first thing you're going to do is write your name on here, and then anybody that you know that needs to either learn what you just learned, come to a dinner, or come and have their spine evaluated, right? And what we want you to do is actually fill that out so that we can actually help you find a way to get those people the help that they need. Guests that are here that have never been in our office before, the next section down is for you. What we have on there is a list of appointment times that we set aside time for you in the end of this week and the beginning of next week to be able to help you get your spine checked. What we're offering for you guys tonight, because you're here at the class with us, normally when we come into our office, we do the evaluation. We run a surface EMG test on you, which is a non-invasive test that will measure your spine function and nervous system. We also check your posture and your alignment, so we can find out if you have nerve interference that's affecting your health, what do we have to do about it, right? So if you've never had that checked before, we want to find an appointment time for you. That normally in our appointment in our office is a $200 exam and consultation that we're doing tonight for only $20. Right? So if you have a loved one that you want to have come and get a $20 exam, they can have that discount if you put their name here. If you're a guest yourself, you circle an appointment time and turn this in, you get your appointment time for only $20. Right? Is that fair? Question? You missing this paper? Anybody else missing that paper?
That was my fault.
Oh, Dr. Shelby was the paper stuffer. Everybody get that? Questions? No? And how
So
about,
that would be each person that
Yeah.
you invite?
yep, if you put down their name on there, we will either invite them to a dinner so they can learn more, or they can come directly to the office for the $20. It depends on sometimes how you know your friend or your loved one wants to, you know, if you know somebody who's like, boom, I'm just getting them in here getting their spine checked, right? That's one thing. But if there's somebody who's like, yeah, what about this? I have questions, right? Or they go, can you really help people with diabetes? Or what does chiropractic have to do with asthma, right? We got questions like that. Then we want to bring them to a dinner. And at the dinner, what we do is you get to come with up to 5 guests. We buy your food. And then I spend a short period of time, that dinner talk is only about 20 minutes long, explaining chiropractic and answering their questions and doing some Q&A so that we can help them understand why it works and how it works, right? So there's 2 different levels of those things. And if you're a guest here and you think, I want to bring my, husband or my spouse to a dinner, you can write their name on that line too, and we'll also get them invited to a dinner. Clear? Cool. Thank you for the question. Just make sure when we're all done, you're going to be turning those things in. The same thing also with the order forms. And I want to show you a little bit of something that we didn't go over yet on the slides because I don't have it on the slide. On the back of this sheet, we also did a promotion for bundles for our cardiac class and our cardiac supplements. So there's some bundles on here, and some of them are very specific. Like if you have high blood pressure, there's blood pressure support, right? And what to do in a bundle if you have high blood pressure. So this will help handle some of the comorbidity stuff, that if you fall into any of these categories, you can also get bundles tonight for these. So that's what the back side of this is. Questions about that? Anybody? Okay, cool.
Okay,
Now Dr. Shelby's going to tell you about the challenge.
so you all have this little card on here that says 30-Day Immunity Challenge 2021. And then it has a bunch of weigh-in, shop with the doc, exercise night. So when you signed up for the class, you're here for the challenge. And the challenge is going to take place, we're going to start on Monday, not the next upcoming Monday, I don't know the date. What day is that? The 25th. And we're going to do a bunch of things. This Saturday, we're hoping to go do a shop with the doc. The location is TBD, and it might be online on like a Facebook Live. We're not sure yet. But shop with the doc is when we take you around the store, or virtually take you around the store, and show you like food labels and what to look for on a food label and what you should get instead of what you think might be healthy for you. We'll show you a couple really cool things. And then I already mentioned the exercise Thursdays.
Can I go back to shop at the doc for 1 second?
Yes.
We need you also to make sure you check off the box if you're interested on this Saturday morning to come to a shop with the doc, because the reason why we haven't determined where we're going yet is because we don't know how many people are coming. Right? So I can't show up at Kroger with 35 people. But I can show up at Kroger with 7 or 8 people. And if we have 15 people, I'll make 2 times. So I need you guys to like check that box off, and when you're all done with that card and you're all in, you're just checking every box. Right? That's what that card's all about, is you just going, I'm writing on this piece of paper that I am in. I'm doing whatever the heck Dr. Mary and Dr. Shelby tell me for the next 30 days, right? And so if you're all in, that's what you're going to do with those boxes. And then when we're done, we need you to turn those in with your name on it, and then we're going to use that to then do your weigh-in on Monday. So that's what you want to do physically with that card, because we need to get it back tonight when you are signing up. Make sense? Question?
On this paper,
Yep.
the date and time of exercising, that's starting this week, right?
Yes, that piece of paper is appointment times for people to come in and get their spine checked. The exercise night is on the little card. Do you have the little card?
I would take a picture of this because you're going to give this to us so that we can write in.
And
your-
that little card has all the times and the appointments that we're making. I mean, the classes that we're holding after tonight. You can turn that
That's
off.
Thursday.